Hello, everyone. Today is 12/12, the 12/12 portal of 2022. I apologize ahead of time. I've been ill. I've been actually just purging, and a lot of it was from my throat chakra and my third eye. And so my head and neck have been really going through it, but I'm better. I do have a voice. I will pause the recording intermittently to cough. That's not totally gone yet. But I had some things that I really wanted to put out there to you guys. This is a collective video. So some I make just for my ground crew within our Telegram groups and whatnot. But this one is actually going to be for any and everyone that wants to listen. So, as you may or may not know, in August, I was completely healed of a lot of blockages in my chakra system, a lot of hexes and curses and um, things that had been done to me that I had picked up through just living on planet Earth because it's a very dense, very traumatic place for anyone to be. And once that was done, I was able to really start to develop and learn what my abilities are because my blockages in my chakra system were gone. I could then connect to source through meditation, where before that, I would do the meditations, but it was just cut off. I just couldn't make that connection. I felt blocked. I felt capped off. I felt like there was a lot of energy energy potential, but that energy was stifled. I no longer have that. It is a constant process where, once you're healed and fully activated, and it's then a daily routine to protect your energy field, to protect your space, to maintain your sovereignty. And that brings me to one of the messages I wanted to deliver. So a lot of people are doing different videos and messages about what 12/12 portal means to them. And as a consensus, I will say that being the last month of the original calendar that we're used to, it's the month where you kind of close out the year and then look forward to the coming year. Well, for light workers and starseeds, this is actually bigger because we're closing out 2,600 years of the age of Pisces. And then we are welcoming another 2,600 years in the age of Aquarius. Now, the age of Pisces was basically like a huge experiment on Earth to see what humans would do when they were cut off from source. What decisions would an individual make when they could no longer have that direct connection to source? Because before then, our ancestors really did have I'm sorry, I hit my camera, a 5D connection to source. And they had high Christ consciousness. They had high frequency. Hold on. Okay, sorry, had a little coughing fit. So they had the abilities that we're just now getting if we've been healed, or if you've done the work. I don't mean to minimize that work that people have done throughout their lives to remove the blockages in your chakra system via yoga or any other practice. Because there are many things that increase that energy flow that can bust through those blockages. But again, there are blockages that were implanted in us. And I don't mean that in a like someone took your physical body and stuck something in it and you didn't know. That does happen sometimes, but that's not exactly what I mean. I mean, it's an etheric implant. So it's in your energy body. And and it's as much of a blockage as if someone put a lid on a jar. And so those are really some impossible, otherwise super difficult to break through on your own without assistance. And so energy work that I do, that many of us do now, is to clear those blockages. So again, now we are able to contact direct communion with Source Creator. What does that do? Well, that really takes that manipulated mind out of the equation if you allow it. And that's the thing I see so much of, is that people are habitually living in fear. It is their mind manipulation that dives in and takes the the intuition out of it, the gnosis, that inner knowing out of it, and you end up missing the magic. You miss the miracle because your mind, which has been manipulated since we were in grade school, that was all part of the plan, uh, tells you that that cannot be true because it's not tangible. Okay, so you're looking for the solution to come in black and white. You're looking for it to come in something that is seen or touched or felt. Well, we feel truth in our soul. We feel our abilities, our claircognizant, our clairaudient. That is a real thing. Can I print it out and show it to you in black and white? No. But I think that we are now, as a collective, able to see, because we have eyes to see and ears to hear, that things that are printed in black and white are broadcasted across the world are not necessarily the truth either. They are manufactured, and they are manufactured for a purpose, to mislead us and to control us and to keep us from believing that we are powerful, sovereign human beings. Christ consciousness gives you the ability to develop your faith within yourself, to build up confidence inside your own being, so that you don't have to wonder anymore. So what we as a collective have been taught to do is to self-doubt, self-sabotage, not have self-confidence, believe that we are not deserving of miracles and magic. And that is all a very common feeling amongst people who have been on Earth. And why is that? Do you think it's common for people of the same, or multiple different age groups actually, but in multiple different countries, to have the same exact habit of talking themselves out of miracles and magic? What other reason would it be besides a huge, orchestrated, masterfully manipulated environment of education, healthcare, news, all the things? So each and every one of us that have broken through that over time, all of the ADHD people, all of the autism spectrum people, they've been having that magic, that miracle, those memories of lives before, higher functioning and higher consciousness, medicated right out of them. It had to be a problem. It doesn't make sense. We can't prove it. It's not true. They're crazy. So that's a huge obstacle for a lot of people to overcome. And when you pan out and you look at everything, it can be overwhelming. But whenever you really get down to the micro and you just look at yourself, it's a lot easier, although still hard. It's a lot easier to take on that battle. And so what did 2020 do for a lot of us? It forced us inside. We were told not to gather. We were told not to spend too much time with people. We were told we couldn't work unless we did certain things. Some people couldn't work at all. We were given the ones that were able to kind of be in a moment that ended up being a lot of moments of solitude. Some actually did a lot of work and what we call shadow work. So that turning away because you got so frustrated with the lies coming out of the box in your living room. Turning away from the general consensus of your coworkers because it made no sense to you. The more that you looked within, the more peace and calm you found. And you realized quickly that turning away from the chaos makers, the crazy makers, is what brought you peace. And then initially, that's all we knew, right? That's all I knew. I just thought, well, don't give that any airtime, and I don't have the anxiety from it, and I don't have to think about it. And it's all happening anyway. So why do I have to give it fuel? So what ultimately ended up happening, but for me, I had been on a spiritual journey for a long time. It really heightened that for me. And my search became of what is the biblical truth, because I really, really wanted to lean on that. I really wanted to lean on a faith that was built on truth, not lies. And I knew that the religion I was raised in was built on lies. I did know that. So that brought me down this path. And it wasn't a path of rainbows and unicorns, although it ended with some unicorns. It was very painful to learn what I learned. It was very painful for a lot of us, I think, to learn what we learned. But that started the shadow work. Okay, that living in the truth, for better or worse, forces you, if you're brave enough, and all of us can be, to accept the truth that other people decided we didn't need to know. And then feel the feelings, have the pain, have the pissed off moments, have the meltdown, and then heal it and move on. Instead of boxing it up, putting it on a shelf, and acting like that shit never happened. Because that's what I had done. I was the queen of that. I had boxes and boxes and boxes of all sorts of trauma and pain throughout my life. That I thought because I had moved on down the road and it was boxed up, safely, securely, double duct taped, everything, it was done. It was not done. So in that solitude moment that started in 2020, I started unpacking those boxes. And what did it lead to? It led to exactly what I just described. But at the other end of it was calm, freedom. The weight was gone. And it was released. And it was realizing, that multiplied over and over and over and over and over again. You realize that the longer and the harder we try to hold on to attachment, to things that we have had, that we were told we needed to have because it was the American way, it was the way of the world, it does not benefit you. What benefits you is letting go, opening yourself up. Instead of building cages and walls and everything around your heart because you can't trust anyone with it. The only one you can trust is Source Creator. Open yourself up to the beauty that is the love, unconditional love of Source Creator. Now, I will tell you, I have learned firsthand, unconditional love is not always kind, but it's always honest. Unconditional love is the ability to call you on your shit and tell you, you are not being real right now. And you need to get real. And until you do, I'm not talking to you. And then you're like, whoa, what just happened there? I messed up. I let some old baggage, some old matrix shit come in and mess up my good thing with Source Creator. I need to fix that. And then you do. And then they're like, good job. Good job. And we still love you. We love you just as much as we did before. It's just now you have another lesson that you learned that increased your frequency, increased your vibration, and now you feel it, right? And so why am I telling you this? Because people are struggling. And if you've been watching me for any period of time, you've seen the journey and you've seen the transformation. And we are of the 144,000 that will lead the masses back to Christ consciousness and Source Creator. And that is where we find our power. And how do we do that? You have to develop your discernment. Our discernment has been knocked out of us. People throw discernment around. I've said this before in multiple videos. It's a catchphrase. But nobody knows how to do it. Well, a few people know how to do it. It's been knocked out of us. We were never taught how to discern because that taught us how to trust our inner voice, our soul, and have communion with our higher self. And that leads to power and sovereignty. And that is what they never wanted us to have, especially the starseeds and the light workers that came down here for the specific purpose of reminding humanity of how beautiful and how powerful and how sovereign we are in the life that Source Creator meant for us to have. So you have to develop your discernment now. The first thing you have to do is know, do you have blockages? Unless you have had energetic healing for the specific purpose of removing blockages, and not just in the chakra system. I mean, you can have daggers and hooks and curses, witchcraft, and all sorts of other things, black goo. Then you're probably holding on to some things that are interceding in your communion, even though you have the intent to commune with Source Creator. Or end up communing with, or trickster spirits, or you have shadows that you haven't dealt with, and those shadows have invited in some nefarious spirits or spirits that are maybe guides, and they have your best interest at heart, but they're just embellishing what you want to hear, and they're not being that source of unconditional love, true guidance. So you have to work at it. And I invite you to go back and look at any of my videos. A lot of the content in there is really good. Violet Ray Reiki is a website that we initially started because we thought we would have a lot of people that would come, that would want and need the healing. But we're finding we're not getting them through that method. We're getting them through different channels, and that's fine too. So I don't recommend going there. You can always find me in our Telegram group, and a lot of our admins are fully healed admins. They are spiritual leaders in their own right, and we will all help you heal. And that main reason is so that you can have one-on-one faith building, confidence building, self-confidence building, self-loving communion with your true higher self, and ultimately Source Creator. And that builds your discernment. So what you're going to do is you encounter a situation. Let's say somebody sends you a video and they say, friend of yours, right? They say, you got to watch this. And you open it up and you go, ooh, I don't have such a good feeling about that. You'd pause. Okay. You recognize that gut feeling, that's an ickiness. That's your first clue that you're doing something that's not in alignment with the light and Source Creator. You then say, my higher self, I use a pendulum. I also have claircognizance, so sometimes I get the answers both ways. It's just confirmation, but I'm doing them together. A higher self is this content that I'm watching right now of the light. I get yes or I get a no. And then I can always say, if it's yes, I say, is this in alignment with the divine mission? May not be my divine mission, but it can be a divine mission. So that's what I ask. And if that is also yes, and I still consider, is that something I should be watching? Then I say, is this in my highest and best good to watch this video content right now? And I might get a no, I might get a yes. Then that's discernment. So you're recognizing the clue that is in your body. It's already there. The answers are all within you. That's what I mean when I say that. And then you take it a step further to confirm. And you're confirming with source creator. You're not confirming with Joe Schmo down the street who thinks he's the end all be all because he quotes Bible verse. Okay? Because there's a whole lot more spirituality than quote Bible verses. And most of the people that quote Bible verses are soulless beings who worship the wrong God. But anyway, so that's how you build your discernment. So then you do this over a period of days or weeks or whatever. And all of a sudden, you realize that you're making these discernment decisions. Decide that, oh, wow, you recognize, not decide, that you're making these decisions now without all those steps in the process. It's just coming naturally to you. Well, it's always come natural to you. You've just been taught to poo poo it. You've been taught to not recognize it. And if you did recognize it, say, well, that's nothing, or talk yourself out of it. Again, our mind will talk ourselves out of the magic and the miracle. So when you are able to properly use discernment, all the matrix crap goes away. It no longer has any power over you because they are banking on all the people with no discernment, following in masses. So the people with discernment will quickly realize that they are not of the light, that they are not speaking truth, and it is not in their highest and best good. And so then you have all these people flipping off the channels and turning off the videos and unsubscribing and unfollowing. And that is what we are seeing. So we've had a huge spread of Christ consciousness, a huge elevation in the amount of frequency, vibrations are high, a lot less people living in the fear mongering, a lot less people living in a fear state. People are wanting to take their power back. And that is being felt everywhere. So me now, as a high functioning Christ consciousness being, light being, as I walk through a random place with my high frequency, that frequency is reverberated and felt in other people because we're energy, right? We are energy. I spread my energy frequency of light, and it is a repellent to the darkness, and it is an attractant to beings of light. So people that I do not know in any way, shape, or form are drawn to me because of the light, because of the frequency. And people that I don't know in any way, shape, or form that are not of the light want absolutely nothing to do with me. And I love that. I love that. I've walked in places where I didn't know anybody but the one person I was going to see. And every other person in the building got quiet and was uncomfortable, except for the person I was going to see. The person I was going to see was of the light and a soul family member, but they were surrounded by darkness. And it was, with eyes to see, I could see like there was this perimeter around her where people that functioned in the building were only functioning outside that perimeter because they were so uncomfortable being inside. And I asked, I'm like, does no one sit here? Does no one sit there? No, they all chose to be over there. And it was just like black and white screaming. I'm like, you know why that is? Like I told her right then, I'm like, you know what that is, right? Because you're of the light. And you know how quiet they got when I walked in? Because I made them real uncomfortable. Because that just magnified your light with my light. So I say this to say we have done great work and our work is not done. Mother Gaia is tired. She has been bearing the burden for a very long time. So I ask you, if you are one of the people that believe in the magic and the power of crystals, wherever you live, wherever you are, get some crystals, bless them, be in communion with your higher self, determine with guidance the best place to put the crystals, and go and be in nature and be with Mother Gaia and express that you love her and you are so grateful to her and you want to help her heal. And bury the crystals once you've blessed them. It has a huge effect for her, a huge positive effect for her. We transmute a lot of our negative and toxic energy by her power through her. And we have to give her some energy back. She is tired. She is birthing a new earth, literally. And so she continues to incubate that new earth, as do we. And she needs our assistance if you can feel inclined to do that. Okay, I am really coughing. I'm so sorry. So when it comes to healing energy, we have been giving a lot, giving. There always has to be a balance. So there are times, every single person that I have healed, I go in communion with my higher self and source creator, and I ask, what, if anything, should I be charging them? That is decided by source creator. Some are not charged anything because they will give a lot of themselves. And so it balances the energy flow. Now, for us, when we are constantly giving, we need to revitalize our life force energy, right? And so people live sometimes in places where they can't go outside all the time, or they can't go outside at all for a while. Or they can, but not for an hour or two. You know what I mean? So there's a few things that I've learned recently that I took particular joy in. And one is that your pets are unconditional love. And so when they greet you, when you greet them, when you're playing with them, you set the intention that that unconditional love is going to revitalize your life force energy. And then you kind of envision that flow of energy through your crown chakra all the way down through your root chakra, and that energy will just flow. And you just envision it going back and forth through you and your little fur babies. That is unconditional love, and it does revitalize your life force energy. Pretty much any 0 point energy will do that for you. Definitely, being out in the sun and that kind of stuff. But again, you can't just keep going out in my opinion, to Mother Gaia and saying, give me, without giving her something back. And what we give back can't just always be toxic shit for her to transmute. I have a real sense of empathy for her, because as an empath, I've taken on decades worth of pain and suffering and death. And, I've gone through it. And very, very rarely did I ever even consider that I needed to recharge anything. I thought that was just what I was supposed to do. And so I gave and 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 I gave some more when I didn't have it to give. And what I was taking from was I was taking from my family. I was taking from my kids. I was taking anywhere I could find it. And so when you finally realize that you have to self-love, you have to set healthy boundaries to preserve your energy, to protect your energy field. You have to be okay with that. So many of us, through growing up on earth, don't feel entitled to protect ourselves. We're apologetic about setting a boundary that protects your energy field. And I was there. That's not selfish. That is self love. We know selfishness because we've all endured it. And there's many people that are walking around that are still very, very selfish. However, there's distinctions in what I'm asking all of us to do to protect our energy and protect our sovereignty and true selfish behavior. So when you are in service to others, which is what I hope all of us are, then you're giving and you're giving and you're giving, and you have to then recharge. And in order to recharge and maintain, you have to set healthy boundaries. And that means, number one, recognizing what's not healthy in your life. Number two, when you recognize it, you know it's not doing anything good for you. You need to cut it out. Now, for me, a huge thing was very, very not good for me was working at the bedside as a nurse. Now, I don't recommend walking out of your job and becoming homeless. But don't say, oh, well, Nicole said I should quit my job and now I'm homeless and it's all her fault. That's not what Nicole said. But what I learned was through discernment, and it took me a long time. And I figured out that I was so drained because my life force energy was literally being drained from me every shift that I worked, because I was like being in a dark place where a lot of dark things happen. So when I finally accepted that I meant enough to myself to protect and no longer give away pieces of my soul, then that was my decision. And I gave it a lot of thought and a lot of tears and a lot of fear actually went into that. But eventually I got to the place where I loved myself enough to take the risk. And so I opened my heart. I opened myself up to Source Creator. And I said, I've been asking you for years to show me what path I need to be on. I know that I'm a healer. Please take me where I can be of help and not harm. And I can no longer do what I've been doing. And I walked away in August. And I have never felt more free. And I do not have a steady source of income. And that is the least of my concern. I have many, many, many blessings, many blessings. And all I can say is that my faith was rewarded and I have been cared for. That does not translate into 3D matrix terms. I can't put it into words. But that being said, my point is, whatever is that non-serving attachment that keeps pulling you back in an unhealthy manner, when you recognize it, you should excise it. You should cut it out, heal the attachment, and move on with life. So once you can do that and you start leaning on your discernment, it really does become empowering. And you'll find yourself, now I find myself like 9 times out of 10, my answers are my higher self, not Nicole. And so whenever I'm like, okay, this is Nicole talking, in a conversation, I'll be like, well, this is just Nicole talking. It's so funny to me because we were taught, a lot of us were taught that the Holy Spirit was something outside of yourself, right? But the Holy Spirit is your higher self. And it is the connection, the cord that connects you to Source Creator. And source creator is Father, source creator of all things, and Mother, Sophia, creatrix of all life. That's why we say Father, Mother, God. Billy always wants to poke his head in here. So if you see a little dog, like right there, there's my little unconditional love. Um, so I hope that you can see the things that can be changed. Recognize that they are things that can be changed. You can literally make the decision to love yourself more than you love that thing or that thing provides. Redefine what abundance is, redefine what freedom is, redefine what self-love is and selfish acts are. Understand that you have way more power than what you were ever taught to believe. You have way more control over your own destiny and life than what you were ever taught to believe. Many, many, many people see me and hear me, more importantly, and they feel a affinity toward what I'm saying because their soul recognizes the truth. That is how we have found many, many, many of our ground crew members. So if this video resonates with you, if you feel like, gosh, this is me she's talking about, reach out. There's no harm that can come of it. At the very least, we can help heal your blockages. And at most, you may just find your soul family. And that is every single person that has come in has just been overwhelmingly loved and supported. And you can see quickly how we feel like we found someone that has been lost. And so we feel like we're coming home together. And that's a really, really beautiful thing, especially in this day and time. But 2023 is going to be amazing. It's going to be hard, but it's going to be amazing. And there's lots and lots of beautiful things coming to those that are willing to see, hear, and do the work. So I thank you for sticking this out with me. I had to pause several times to cough my head off. Again, it's just purging the old and getting ready for the new, and I'm all for that. So thank you for joining me on Healing Disclosures with Nicole. I'm Nicole, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. Take care.